Good morning. As students of English Honours, you are expected to write explanation of unseen lines both in poetry and in prose. In all parts of the course, part 1, part 2 and part 3, you get questions where you have to write explanation of certain lines. This becomes a difficult task for most students because it expects first-hand writing from them. So, how do we write an explanation of some cited lines? This becomes a very problematic area for most students, and in the state of desperation they simply take recourse of rote learning. They get by heart the explanations that have been provided to them by their teachers, or they depend on certain guides for this section. Now, whenever we have to write an explanation, we have to first of all identify the source of the cited lines. Then in the next part we have to elaborate upon the context from where the lines have been given. Thereafter we have to write the general meaning of the lines that are to be explained. Now, of course, we need to go on the contextual meaning, because when certain lines are taken out of context, they do not have the same meaning. Therefore, we have to locate the lines in a particular context and try to find out the contextual meaning of the particular lines. And of course, in the end, we have to write certain concluding comments. So we can divide the entire task of writing an explanation in three paragraphs or three parts. First of all, in the beginning part, we write from where the lines have been taken, the name of the text or maybe the part of the text, and we also write something about the writer or the poet. So this finishes the first part. Then we move on to elaborating the contextual and the general meaning. Now, whatever lines are cited, we can explain the general meaning of the lines and then write about the environment or the locale or the context from where the lines have been taken, and then we can try to locate it in the entirety of the text from where it has been taken. If it is it has been taken from a long poem, we try to find out the relevance of the lines in the whole context, why the lines have been written, and how do they add to the overall meaning of the context from where they have been taken. And lastly, we comment on the overall significance of the lines in the context, or whatever meaning the lines try to signify. It would be better if we try to take an example of how we write an explanation of certain quoted lines. For example, we have two lines from Alexander Pope's famous mock epic. What dire offense from amorous causes springs, what mighty contests rise from trivial things. Now, if we have to explain these two lines, first of all, we write that the lines have been taken from Canto 1st of Alexander Pope's famous mock epic, The Rape of the Lock. These are the opening lines of the mock epic, and we know that Alexander Pope was a great satirist poet of the 18th century, and he had written the mock epic, The Rape of the Lock, in order to be able to bring a kind of resolution of conflict between two persons of the then society. Now, we move further and we can write that these two lines in a way try to define the structure of a mock epic. Generally, a mock epic is a copy of an epic, and in this form the poet tries to take all the formal details of an epic, but the subject matter of the epic, mock epic, is very trivial. It does not talk about any serious thing. Now, these two lines talk about this quality or this feature of a mock epic. Here, the poet says, it talks about mighty contests that rise from trivial things. Now, in a mock epic, the style and form is very elevated, whereas the content is very small. The poet suggests here that this mock epic will be talking about mighty contests or war over a very trivial matter. And in the first line, he talks about dire offense that comes from love matters. Now, the love matter is again not very elevated, it is a trivial matter. The poet is trying to give a hint that the narration that follows is going to talk about love matters which lead to fierce struggle. However, the love matter that is being hinted at again is not a serious love matter as in case of the epics like Odysseus or any this epic describing the love between Aeneas and Dido. In Odysseus, we have the love relationship between Odysseus and Penelope, and in Aeneid, we have love relationship between Aeneas and Dido. These love relationships were serious love relationships, whereas in case of the Rape of the Lock, the love relationship is between Belinda and Baron, which is very superficial and very trivial. So it does not consist of the seriousness of the love relationship that is found in the great epics of Greek literature. So if we explain these two lines, we can find out the kind of connotations that are there embedded in these lines. So we have to clarify these things in order to write the explanation properly. In the comment part or the concluding part, we can say that these two lines not only introduce the mock epic but also try to give certain hint of the things to come. So therefore we can divide the entire explanation part into three sections. In the first section, we write the general context. In the second section, we write the general meaning and contextual meaning and contextual relevance of a particular text. And thereafter, we try to comment on the specific meaning, if any. So concluding remarks are written in the last part. So this trend can be followed in all kinds of explanation writings. If it is a line of an essay or a line quoted from a fiction or a story, then we have to place these lines in the whole context, in totality of the context, and try to explain what kind of relevance is there of these lines in the entire context, or whether these lines have any distinguished contextual meaning, or they have only the meaning that is that can be called a general meaning. So we have to distinguish between the general meaning and the specific meaning by placing the lines in a proper context. This kind of format can be advised for writing explanation of the quoted lines or the questions, the lines which have been set in the question paper for explanation. And this kind of pattern can be practiced by the students so that they can be able to write good explanation. Thanks.